Are you sure you're free? What else would I be doing?
Hey everyone, this is Jeff, aka 101 Bronson, back today with yet another collection video update. Yeah, we're gonna go over the pickups of January 2023, a new year. In case I forgot, Happy New Year to everyone that's watching. A bit late, but we are in the new year and actually in the next month. I'm recording this in February, of course. But we're covering the January pickups. There's quite a bit, so let's get right into it. Here we go. Alright, and here we go with the January 2023 updates. First up, I picked up a video game for my PS5, God of War Ragnarok, recent release, and I think it was November of 2022. I didn't pick it up at launch, heard a lot of great things about it. I loved the first game, or the game that came before this. Never really played the other God of War games that much. I played a little bit of it. The game is still in my console. Yeah, I love the previous game and I was definitely hyped for this, but again, games nowadays, they cost 70-80 bucks at launch. I was waiting for it to be a bit cheaper. I picked it up for, I think it was 65 euros. And I was like, you know what, for 65 euros, we'll pick up this great game because it had so many great reviews. I think it won some awards, Game of the Year and stuff like that. Could be wrong, but I think it definitely got some great acclaim and everything. So I picked it up and I've been playing it. For a bit. I think I've put 10 hours into this game already, and it's really, really good. Really great storytelling, visually great. I put some hours into it, and I can't wait for playing some more, to play some more, finish it. So it's God of War Ragnarok. That's a video game. Let's move over to the films. Quite a few DVDs. Let's start with this first one here. Dangerous Minds with Michelle Pfeiffer, mid-90s sort of drama in which Michelle Pfeiffer plays a former Marine who goes to teach at this problematic school where there's a lot of kids who have, kids from poor families and stuff like that, and she's trying to sort of teach them stuff, not just, how to get better in school, but also life lessons. And this is a film. I still have my VHS tape of this film. I've seen it quite a bit on VHS, and I was looking for it on Blu-ray, and maybe somebody can help me out, but I couldn't find any Blu-ray releases of this film, so that's why I've opted for DVD, because I did want it in a bit of better format than VHS. It would have been great if this film here was on Blu-ray, but unfortunately it doesn't seem to be, so I don't know whoever owns the right. I think it's Disney that owns the right, because this, I don't know, they're owned by Disney. So Disney, come on, man, get a 4K or a Blu-ray of this film, because this is a film I've always sort of really found underrated, not talked about much. Everybody does know the song from this one, Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio. But the film itself, I think, is very underrated. I think it's one of Michelle Pfeiffer's best performances. I really enjoy this film. Every time I've seen it, I've always enjoyed it. So moving on, I think we've picked up about 6 Dolph Lundgren films on DVD. Again, a lot of these are straight to DVD, so they don't have a Blu-ray release. This one probably does, but I just found this DVD dirt cheap, which I'm really not complaining, because this is a pretty crappy film, actually. Denise Richards as the lead in this film. Dolph Lundgren is barely in it. If he's in it for 5 minutes, I think that's stretching it. But in addition to my Dolph Lundgren collection anyway, this sounded much better on paper than in execute. I mean, Denise Richards, she was hot back then. I mean, she still is good looking, but she's definitely done some touch-ups on her face, which I'm not a fan of. But back in the 90s, she was hot and quite decent of an actress. I'm not going to say she was a great actress. I'm not going to say she's a great actress now, but yeah. A film in which there was a hijack on a plane. Dolph Lundgren is actually the leader of the hijackers. Denise Richards is a female FBI agent who is taking on, well, you know, trying to stop this threat. And you would think, hey, that would be cool. You know, we could have a confrontation between Denise Richards and Dolph Lundgren. They don't share a single scene in the film. Yeah, Dolph Lundgren is sort of the main bad guy. She's the main protagonist. And there's no face-off between the protagonist and the villain, which, really? Are you kidding me? Yeah. Moving on, we have a much better Dolph Lundgren film. This one is on Blu-ray, but for some reasons the Blu-ray is very hard to obtain. But it's a film I've seen it years ago on streaming somewhere, and I've always liked it. And I was actually thinking about it when I was picking up these Dolph Lundgren films this month. Thinking of getting this on Blu-ray, but the Blu-ray, apparently German has had a Blu-ray of it. I think the US has had a Blu-ray of this film, and they're all out of print, and you're gonna have to dig deep and pay a lot of money for them. So I got this DVD. I think this is the Australian DVD. Maybe my mate Matthew Binney from Australia, you can confirm this maybe. I think this is the Australia rating system certification, whatchamacallit, isn't it? So I really couldn't sort of detect it from anywhere else, but I think it is the Australian DVD. But no, it's a great Dolph Lundgren film. Alternate title is Joshua Tree. I do prefer this title here, Army of One, but it is a great Dolph Lundgren film from, I think, the early or mid 90s. Oh yeah, 93. This was right around the Showdown Little Tokyo time. This was when Dolph Lundgren was really cranking out these big action classics that are sort of become cult classics, like, you know, Red Scorpion, The Punisher. Around this time, he was also appearing, of course, in Universal Soldier with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And this is a great film. For anybody who hasn't seen it, who hasn't seen many of Dolph's films that he's done outside of the really big ones like Universal Soldier, like Rocky IV, even like He-Man Master Universe. A lot of people have seen that film. That's also a bit of a cult classic. And, you know, for people that are looking for Dolph films outside of like the Expendables, I definitely recommend Army of One, aka Joshua Tree. I mean, just look at this cover. It's awesome. Dolph there. There's great car chases with this car in the film. There's great shootouts. I cannot recommend it more. It's a great Dolph Lundgren film. Now moving over to some more straight to DVD Dolph Lundgren ones, but actually really decent ones in my opinion. There hasn't been any of these straight to DVD films of Dolph that I've disliked necessarily. So this is a really good one. I thought this was a cool concept. Detention, which Charles Bronson, I wanted to say. You know what? I'm gonna keep that blooper in. You know, this great concept for film, Detention, in which Dolph Lundgren plays a school teacher who on his last day before he wants to quit doing that, there are some crazy people who come and take over the school during a detention session. Dolph Lundgren has a few kids in detention class, and after that's finished, they're gonna go home, and he's gonna go home for the final time, and you know he's gonna end his shift and not come back this next day. But people take over the school, some evildoers, and it's basically, and at that point it sort of turns into a bit of a Die Hard at a school film, which, yeah, you might say it's a bit of a silly concept, but I really enjoyed it. There was some good, decent action scenes in this film. Dolph, I think, did a solid job. Supporting cast, yeah, was a bit hit or miss, but overall I thought this was a very decent straight-to-DVD actioner. Here's another great one. This might be one of Dolph's best straight-to-DVD films, Direct Action, in which he plays a cop battling corruption on the force. You know, he becomes a target within the police department. They're going after him, and he's planning to testify against his colleagues, and it's a great action film. Pretty pricey budget, I think, also for a straight to DVD one. You can tell that they put some effort and money into this film. So I do recommend this one, Direct Action. A really good film. Next up is Hidden Agenda. There's a sort of this of the sort of pile I picked up of Dolph films for this month. This, except for Altitude, this is one that I found a bit lesser. I still enjoyed it, but definitely a bit of a lesser quality and production quality to value to it. Now this is sort of Dolph's Eraser, in which Eraser, the film from 1996 with Arnie, where he played a FBI marshal, I think it was, or federal marshal, something like that, and his task was to erase people, put them in hiding, give them new identities. Well, that's sort of the gist for this film as well with Dolph. Yeah, this one was okay. I'm glad to have it in my Dolph collection, and it definitely was a decent watch. It's still better than most of the stuff on straight to DVD from other action stars like Steven Seagal, for example. But yeah, overall, if you're getting into Dolph, that's one I say don't be in a hurry to pick it up. Definitely do pick it up. I still think it's watchable, it's decent, but yeah. Next up is The Shooter. This one has a different title in the US. I think it's Hidden Assassin. It's Dolph Lundgren and Mariuszka Detmers. And I think this is from 1996, I want to say. It's actually directed by Ted Kotcheff, who did First Blood, the first Rambo film. Oh, it says right there. Director of Weekend at Bernie's and Rambo First Blood, yeah. And also you have John Ashton in this film as Dolph's partner. John Ashton from Beverly Hills Cop and Midnight Run. And this film, it's a really good one. Again, Dolph sort of plays a government employee working together with John Ashton to get a female assassin played by Mariuszka Detmers, who allegedly killed a Cuban, I think it was an ambassador or something. So they have to travel and get her back into onto U.S. soil, so she can be prosecuted and stuff. And it's a very, very good story. I thought this one was very underrated. Now, apparently there are two versions of this film. Apparently French and the U.S. version. They're apparently cut, and apparently, yeah, we in the Netherlands have the uncut version. And I definitely enjoyed this version. It's definitely a film I do recommend, and I thought it was a bit underrated. So, anyway, moving on, we have another pile of straight to DVD films. This time from the master, the Sifu, Sensei Steven Seagal. We have Against Dark, Seagal's vampire/zombie film. This is as close as we're going to get to Seagal doing a horror film. You know what? You will notice I've picked up a few Seagal films this month, and for those of you who remember when I did my Steven Seagal collection video back 2 or 3 years ago, I was really sort of ranting on Seagal and really being pissed off in that video, saying I'm done with Seagal and stuff. But really over the last sort of few months, weeks even, I've sort of had a bit of a resurgence in terms of, you know, me wanting to check out Seagal films. I mostly got the Seagal films I got this month just to complete my collection, because I am a completionist. I do want a complete collection, even if I know 80 to 85% of his films are utter crap, but I still want to have a complete collection. But I've also sort of gained a new appreciation for these terrible Steven Seagal films. You know, as terrible as they are also hilarious, and Seagal is just comedy gold. This is actually his last film that he's done to date. He hasn't done a film since this one in 2019, Beyond the Law, with Johnny Master and DMX. Seagal is actually not the main star in this film, even though he's, of course, front and center. That's another thing about these straight-to-DVD films that he's doing nowadays. He's always front and center on the cover, but he's barely in it, and he barely moves. He's always sitting down. Yeah, but anyway, to be fair, this film, yes, it's far from a Seagal classic, far from it. But I actually did not mind this film.
What?
I know, I was shocked myself when I watched. I was like, this is actually okay. Seagal is the villain in this film, and of course, as we all know, Seagal doesn't die in his films, so they work a clever solution for that. But that aside, again, I thought actually this was a okay movie. Oh, by the way, don't expect a Exit Wounds reunion with these two because they don't share a scene together, unfortunately. But because apparently DMX doesn't like Seagal, didn't like working with him in Exit Wounds. But anyway, they don't share a scene in this film. But anyway, that's beyond the law. Next up is Maximum Conviction, Steve Austin and Steven Seagal, a film. I actually really enjoyed this one. I think this might be the last good Steven Seagal straight to DVD movie, and this is from 2013 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Seagal and Steve Austin, they share a screen. They have some good chemistry in my opinion. I think it's cool when they're on screen together. Both of them have their own scenes as well, their own fight scenes, their own fighting styles is incorporated. I like the plot. It's set at this like, you know, prison or this sort of off the books prison. And it sort of becomes a die-hard in a prison, this one, to be honest, because there's some terrorists and stuff that come in. But yeah, no, you know what? I gotta give it to Seagal. This one I really enjoyed, which I cannot say as much for this mid-2000s straight to DVD film, Out of Reach. He's back and he's on deadly ground. Yeah, no, this is one of those films in which Seagal's constantly dubbed. Plenty of body doubles for even the most simplest of scenes. You know what? Even though, despite that, I think I sort of became over the years immune to these terrible Seagal. It used to really piss me off. It doesn't really piss me off as much as it sort of slightly annoys me these days. You know what? This was watchable. I've seen worse, so there's that. So, but yeah. Anyway, this one I was sort of surprised with. The next one here, Ticker, from 2001. I think the same year as Exit Wounds. This one was straight to DVD, whereas Exit Wounds was a theatrical effort. But you know what? Again, just like with Beyond the Law, I went into this expecting the worst, actually, because this is one of the earliest straight-to-video films, and it has a actually pretty decent cast, in which you have Tom Sizemore, sort of the main lead, actually, and Dennis Hopper as the villain, and Steven Seagal here as well. Yeah, you know what? This film surprised me. I wasn't expecting it to be, you know, as good as it turned out. It is directed by Albert Payan, who apparently, just like with Cyborg that he did with Van Damme, the studio sort of screwed him on this film, and they locked him out of the editing room, and they sort of created their own cut. And he, I think on the internet, released his director's cut, which I haven't seen, but I did enjoy this one, so, you know. Anyway, those were all the DVDs, and Seagal will be back for another Blu-ray release, because apparently for this mediocre film here, the Blu-ray was actually cheaper than the DVD, so I got the Blu-ray. But Sniper Special Ops, yeah, this is the film where Seagal is a sniper and he sits down for pretty much the entire film, you know, behind the scope of a sniper, but and while other action guys do all the heavy lifting. So yeah, you have Seagal in there for a few scenes, which, yeah, to be honest, it's a very easy paycheck for him. But the action scenes that are in this film with the other guys is actually very decently made. There's some production value here that I saw. There are some hilarious gun handling by Seagal, in which he, I kid you not, he uses a rifle, not a sniper rifle, but a assault rifle, and he sort of has it over his shoulder as if he's holding a bazooka. I kid you not, like he's holding a rocket launcher. So, but other than that, I thought this was a, again, somewhat decent film, which I wasn't expecting. So, you know what, Seagal has surprised me 3 times this month. Is there nothing he can do? well, except lose weight. Now, before we move on to more upgrades, we have two new additions on Blu-ray to the collection. These two pickups from Germany. I saw them. I was like, you know what? These look like good films. I've heard about both films before. It's this one here is Convoy by Sam Peckinpah with Chris Christopherson, Ali McGraw, 1978, 79. I want to say a trucker film, also with Burt Young, aka Paulie from the Rocky films, and Ernest Borgnine. Truck driving film, sort of a Easy Rider, but then with trucks, I guess, maybe a little bit. I don't know what to sort of describe this film as, but I did enjoy this film, actually. You know what, I did enjoy this film here. And, you know, I think this is a bit of a sort of underrated 70s road film, I guess yeah, maybe you can call it a road film. But I really liked it. Next up is James Caan and the sort of a bit of a cult classic, this one, the 1974 film Rollerball, which, to be honest, even though I thought I'd seen it, I hadn't. You know, when people always were talking about, I was saying, yeah, I've seen that film. No, it turns out I hadn't. I've been aware of the film for a long time, let's put it that way. But now I finally checked that. It was okay. I can see why people sort of rate this highly as a cult classic, but I thought the film was a little too slow paced for me, and that says a lot because I don't mind slower paced films. I mean, for Christ's sakes, Once Upon a Time in the West is one of my favorite films of all time, and people often say that one is slow paced. So, but you know what? It was an okay film. I'm glad to have added to my collection. Always great to see the late great James Caan. It was a fun time waster with this film. Don't mind watching it. Next up, I've upgraded two Sylvester Stallone movies to Blu-ray. Two of my more underrated Stallone films, in my opinion. Two of the more underrated ones. This one here, Get Carter from 2000. We're an all-star cast. Miranda Richardson, Rachel Lee Cook, Alan Cumming, Mickey Rourke, Michael Caine, and also John C. McGinley is in this film. Underrated sort of crime thriller film with Sly. This is sort of when Sly's films weren't really doing well at the box office. This one, I think, didn't really get well received back then. There might be some critics who liked it, but I know it was a sort of a box office disappointment, this film, or even a flop, I think. But I like this film, and yes, I know before all of you in the comments start going on about the original with Michael Caine, I've never seen the Michael Caine film. I've only seen this film, Get Carter, with Sly Stallone. I will make it part of my February update pickups that I will do in February. I will pick up the original Michael Caine film this month, or the upcoming month, and check it out. So before you all go on, I haven't seen the original. People who say it's not a patch on the original. I don't know. I've never been able to judge. I'm going to check out the original, and, you know, we'll see what I feel then. But I do feel that this is a very underrated Stallone performance and Stallone film. You know what? I love Stallone. I love him in pretty much everything. So, you know, speaking of underrated, this is my most underrated Stallone film, I think. It's either this one or Lock Up that I feel are like very, very underrated, over the top. I've always had a big fondness and love and huge appreciation for this film. I honestly don't understand the hate this film gets. I've had it on DVD for years. Blu-ray was not easily obtainable, but Germany has re-released their Blu-ray. Germany has a new Blu-ray out, and I picked it up. You know what? I still love the film. It looks even better in high def. I cannot recommend this film, and for me, this is a absolute criminally underrated Stallone film. Yes, it's about arm wrestling. You know, why is that such a big deal? Why? Arm wrestling is a real thing, legitimate thing, you know, so people saying, oh, it's an arm wrestling movie. Yeah, so what? It's also a very good father-son story. Sly does a really good job in the film. The villain, Rick Zumwalt, does a great job. Robert Loggia has a great acting role in it. For me, this is a great film. Very underrated, very underappreciated. Hugely underrated. Anyway, next up we have a Charles Bronson upgrade. I do have this film on DVD on the Wild East double bill. This is Farewell Friend with Alain Delon. And Charles Bronson is a great media book again from Germany. In this 1968 French thriller heist caper film, which Bronson teams up with Alain Delon. Adieu l'ami, which is the French title, which is Farewell Friend. Again, this is a very good Charles Bronson film. This is one that really made him popular in Europe. Back in the day, he did this film, and he did Once Upon a Time in the West, which also came out in '68. And both these films really made him a huge superstar in Europe. It unfortunately didn't make him a big star in the US yet. He had to wait a few years for that, but this one made him a big superstar in Europe. This one, Once Upon a Time in the West. And this is a great addition here from the Germans. The Germans love Charles Bronson, and so do I, obviously. And it's great to have yet another media book. I think this might be like the 10th media book I have in my Bronson collection. I have quite a few media books. Yeah, that's another great one, Farewell Friend. And last up for the Blu-rays, before we move on to the single 4K pickup, I've had some Clint Eastwood upgrades right here. First one is Bloodwork on Blu-ray. Again, previously owned on DVD. These are all upgrades. This is a very solid, little bit of underrated Clint Eastwood sort of the detective film thriller. He doesn't really play a cop. He plays a former, I think, FBI profiler or something like that. Oh yeah, it says right there, FBI profiler. Who in the opening scene, he sort of gets a heart attack and he's about to die. And he gets a heart transplant from an organ donor. But he finds out it was actually from a woman who got killed on the same night or something like that. And he got her heart, and the sister of the woman that Clint Eastwood got the heart transplant from is now coming to Clint saying, my sister was murdered. I would appreciate if you look into it. You owe it to me. I mean, she gave you her heart. Thanks to her, you're alive and stuff like that. And Clint goes on the case, and it's actually a really, really good, solid thriller. Definitely recommend it. Next up is City Heat with Clint Eastwood and Burt Reynolds co-starring. This is a film I've honestly never really cared for too much. I still like it. I like watching it. I mean, anything that Clint does, any film with Clint is worth watching, and having him here team up with Burt Reynolds is a great thing to behold. But unfortunately, they don't have much to do in this film. It's not really a interesting and compelling story and gripping film. It's a bit of a waste of both Eastwood and Burt Reynolds. Despite having said that, I love every Clint Eastwood film. And if I say this is my least favorite one, it doesn't mean much, because it's still a film I would rate highly against other films, if that makes sense. Even the worst Clint Eastwood film is worth watching, so I would apply that to this one. But yeah, I never really cared too much for this one, to be honest, but I have to upgrade it to Blu-ray nonetheless to make my Eastwood collection a bit more complete. And this was actually a film for years. I felt the same about this one. I was always sort of having City Heat or this one as my least favorite Eastwood film. I've really grown to like Firefox here very much, though. I do really enjoy this film now when I watch it again. Solid thriller, Cold War movie, espionage film in which Eastwood goes into Russia and has to steal this highly advanced fighter jet, the Firefox. Very decent film. Really enjoyed revisiting it, so there you go. Next up is another cop movie with Clint Eastwood, Tightrope. Again, a very solid film. I think of all of his cop films, I don't know, this might rank a bit lower than the Dirty Harry films and The Rookie and The Gauntlet, but I still really like it, let's put it that way. Eastwood's very sleazy sort of thriller. A lot of nudity, a lot of sexual content in this film. Yeah, it says it right there, strong violence and sex. This is the UK Blu-ray. Also with Genevieve Bujold, I hope I pronounced that right. Yeah, very solid, and again, slightly underrated Clint Eastwood cop movie. And let's move on to the last pickup for January. This is the only 4K title, and it's an upgrade from a Blu-ray, and it's an upgrade from a film that is definitely one that I really enjoy. One of my all-time favorite films, maybe. Quentin Tarantino's first film, Reservoir Dogs, and this great 4K steelbook with a very, I like this touch on the slipcover. You remove the air, you have the blood that trickles down, and you have the guys there in silhouette, all on the cop's face. The poor cop who's being tortured, spoiler alert, by Michael Madsen's character in the film. It's a nice steelbook. Again, I'm not the biggest steelbook collector or steelbook fan. I do appreciate a steelbook every now and then, and this is definitely one where I think they've done a top-notch effort in it. Here's the 4K disc. This is the German edition, and here's the Blu-ray disc. And yeah, what can I say? It's Quentin Tarantino's debut film. It's one I've always enjoyed. It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite Tarantino film. I think that would go to either Pulp Fiction or Jackie Brown. I really love those two films on any given day. Depending on my mood, I will say Jackie Brown or Pulp Fiction. But Reservoir Dogs is a damn good film, and it's never looked better. This 4K treatment, the 4K transfer is absolutely spectacular. The Blu-ray, admittedly, has never really looked all too spectacular. The Blu-ray was passable, but it's never really... It was never a clean or crisp transfer on Blu-ray, but it definitely is now on 4K, thanks to the people over at Lionsgate. So yeah, there you go, Reservoir Dogs. Great film. And that's the update for January. So there you guys have it. Those were the pickups for January 2023. Do hope you enjoyed. A lot of great pickups this month, a big stack. Been adding to my Dolph Lundgren and Steven Seagal collection respectively, with quite a number of titles that will continue the next month. And like I said, I will pick up Get Carter in February as well, the original Get Carter, so I can finally see if so many people are right and the original is better than the remake. We'll see. Anyway, do hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more content. I'm gonna do lots of videos, cool ones coming up. I'm planning to do some more reviews and stuff on my channel, so stay tuned for that. Of course, you can always catch me every month pretty much live on Gareth Video Tasties live streams as watch parties. I'm pretty much a regular recurring guest on that. And also look forward very soon to another live stream that's coming up, which I'm really excited about, which I can't share too much about at the moment, but that's going to be a real good one. Anyway, hope you're all well. Take care, everyone, and keep punching.